Like people are saying, my culture is not a costume. Honey, this is not your culture. This is, you grew up in upstate New York or you grew up in Jersey, and this is what you saw. He was telling me about our family involvement in the mob, but basically the mafia wanted to work with him. There is this glorification of history that we don't always understand, and so we kind of like glob onto it, and we think this is what it means to be an Italian, or this is what it means to be Hispanic. Or hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where we talk about American identity and hidden history and family stories. And there's a trend going on that I have got to talk about. It is the Italian mob wife aesthetic. Now, I'm a little old to have an aesthetic. My aesthetic is sitting on the couch and watching a show at night. Now, if you don't know what this trend is, I want to let some of these girls speak for themselves. So I want to watch a couple of these and then we're going to talk about it. And one of the reasons why I think we need to talk about this is, yes, this is a family history channel and it's American identity. But I think what's interesting is that when you have another generation of kids, and I'm calling them kids because I'm getting close to 40, is that kids are getting excited about this look and what they think that it means, and they may not actually know the history of what they're embracing. And it's a great opportunity to learn. I don't think that we should necessarily come down on them, but there's some stuff we got to talk about. So I want to share two of these with you, and I want to react to them. So this first one are these girls talking about dressing like a mob wife.
Dressing like a mob wife is no new thing.
It's no new thing
for us.
For us. Especially myself.
Especially you.
But I don't even know if it's mob wife aesthetic or is it just Long Island, Jersey,
Our
New York aesthetic.
Not your costume.
No, it's not.
All you non-Italians dressing up as mob wives, we've got something to say.
I'm not perverted, just Italian.
You're putting in those gold hoops, putting on that fur, acting like somebody you're not.
Seriously? We've been doing this for years.
Does your last name end in a vowel? No?
No.
No fur for you.
Do you have family dinner on Sunday?
Do you call it gravy? Not sauce?
I actually don't call it gravy, never have.
I don't either, to be honest.
Yeah, my family never
But that's
has.
a thing.
It is a thing. Does your mom make the best meatballs?
Have you had my grandma's?
If clean is out and mob wife is in,
right,
are we dirty?
Well, it just really seems like the makeup is all the same. It's just you're putting on some sort of fur and ear and gold hoops and slicking your hair back. And perhaps an eyeliner. A thicker eyeliner is what people...
Yes.
What more
Look
can
at
I
me!
do?
Who am I to you?
We're already in.
I don't gotta try.
Yeah.
I'm already doing it.
We don't have
I'm not pretending to be somebody I'm not.
We don't have to conform to this trend.
We are the trend, honey.
These slick with
these
the earrings,
putanas out here, they don't even know what they're doing. Putana disgraziata che sei. This is my lifestyle you're talking about. No, it's just I've been judged in the past for how I look. Oh, she looks like a dirty Italian from Long Island. Well, hop aboard, honey.
Yep. My cat eye and my fur, never been more in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so something really interesting about this to me. I think that there is a resurgence of the next generation wanting to get connected to their roots, and they don't really know how to do it. And so it makes a lot of sense in the era that we're in to kind of try to reconnect, like to kind of reconstruct what we think was a family experience. Now, my dad did an interview with me. Actually, maybe I'll cut to that clip. He was telling me about our family involvement in the mob, but basically when his grandpa came over from southern Italy in the 1900s and he immigrated here and he eventually naturalized, he was a tailor. He made really bespoke suits by hand. And I actually learned to sew in part because of that. I was so inspired by that. But the mafia wanted to work with him, and he thought about it, and my great-grandpa decided that that wasn't the path he wanted to take. And I think there is this glorification of history that we don't always understand, and so we kind of like glob onto it, and we think this is what it means to be an Italian, or this is what it means to be Hispanic, or this is what it is, and you start to get like these mirror images of that experience. I want to jump to the next one here.
These are people who cannot claim the mob wife aesthetic or educate yourselves before partaking in this culture. You also don't need to necessarily grow up 100% Italian. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times when you grow up in places like Queens, Long Island, Jersey, you inherit certain characteristics and your family grows up a certain way. So it's all about Values. Number one is clear as day. If you villainize carbs,
Mob
if you're not eating the
values.
bread and you're not eating the pasta because you think you're going to gain weight, absolutely cannot claim mob wife aesthetic. If you grew up eating pasta, you understand pasta's not bad for you. Number two is for the older gen. But if you didn't grow up having a crush on Carmine, Frankie, or Johnny, and you didn't declare one of them as yours, I'd reconsider the mob wife aesthetic. You don't know who Carmela Soprano is. I don't think I need to explain this one. Next is if you don't know any Motown music. If you're at a wedding and you don't hear Motown music, there's probably no mob-related ties in your family or friend group.
I want to stop here because she just did something that was so interesting. She brought in Motown music. Are those Southern Italians? No, of course not. She's talking about there's this culture of an area, and I have definitely seen this culture. When I was going to college, I went somewhere else for my first year of college, and I really hated it. And I ended up transferring back for my undergrad to go to SUNY Albany, State University of New York. And I changed my major to Russian literature and American history. And while I was there, though, there is a certain kind of a girl that you would see everywhere. This girl had nothing to do with the mob. It was everything to do with being a part of upstate New York Italian American culture. And I guarantee you a lot of these girls weren't even Italian. But it'd be kind of like big cheap glasses, kind of a messy bun, like animal print, fur Uggs that were always filthy. And that's just kind of their thing. And that's fine. Like, that's not what I wore. I was never really into it. But I'm so interested in two parts. One is, are people trying to reconnect to their roots? Because I really feel like that is an underlying current here. I'm hearing girls say stuff, they're getting it kind of wrong. But I think it's a great learning opportunity. The second part is this idea of it's not so much about your ethnicity, it's about the location where you live. My guess is that if you were to go to Southern California and talk to Southern Italians there, granted, there's not going to be as many as in Jersey or New York, okay? They're going to have much more, I would guess, a culture as far as clothing and things like that in line with maybe even like Cholo culture and Southern LA kind of style. And so you come over to the East Coast at this time, and this is just kind of the culture. This is how people are looking. And I don't think it's like this isolated ethnic thing. Like people are saying, my culture is not a costume. Honey, this is not your culture. This is, you grew up in upstate New York or you grew up in Jersey, and this is what you saw. And that's fine. Now, the other side of this is, do you even understand what the mob is? Do you understand what the mafia actually is? Watching The Godfather doesn't mean that now you understand the intricacies of that. And I guarantee if you were to look up what the mob has been doing. First of all, calling it the mob is wrong. I did a video on this. It's like a mob quiz, and I'll leave it at the end. Go ahead and try it and see how much you actually know about the mob. But La Cosa Nostra, which was one group, our thing, if that's a thing that you want to align yourself with, be my guest. Be my guest. I know for my great-grandfather, it was a thing he chose not to do for our family. And I think it's dangerous to glorify and romanticize history when we don't really know what it is. So there's two things happening here. One, wearing these outfits does not mean you're some like Italian mob wife who's in charge of everything and doesn't take any bull from anyone. And the second part is that the real history of La Cosa Nostra, of the mafia, there's parts that we should be ashamed to glamorize. And I think that's important to bring into this conversation as well. I just want to touch on one last one here. And it's this girl responding, and the comment says, I'm just going to mind my black business. I'm enjoying watching the Italians go after white girls. And it's about mob wife aesthetic.
No, because I cannot believe the girls are going back and forth like this. I have never seen Italian girls speak out on TikTok like they have spoken out about this whole mob wife aesthetic. They said that their culture is not a costume. They are coming. They are on these girls' necks.
The whole like my culture is not a costume. I would challenge these girls to watch some original footage of Selena. And see how she's looking with her big hair and her hoops. Is she mob wife aesthetic? Is she stealing your culture? No. There's a whole era of like, this is how it looked. This was the culture. This was the style. And Italian Americans just kind of like the women, a lot of them just, they're like, we really like this, and we're going to keep doing it. So this is really interesting. I think it's a really great opportunity for people to learn about their culture and their heritage if they have Italian American heritage. But I think overall, this to me just screams being disconnected from actual history. And it's a great opportunity to learn. So let me know if you've seen this mob wife aesthetic, what you think about it, and is it real? And if you're interested in taking the quiz to see how much you know about the mob, I'll leave the video below. It's 5 questions. And anybody who thinks that they are really mob wife aesthetic, I would challenge you to take this quiz and let me know how you do. And if you're interested in seeing any other videos about the Italian American experience, the actual history of it, I'll leave that below, or I'll leave a link to it up here. Be sure to sign up for my email list so we can stay connected, and we'll talk soon.